We created the Biodiversity Group to craft science into a functional tool that can be wielded by people who too often feel disconnected from the scientific community. Coming from my early career in academics, I found science to be far too insular, and I found that most biologists weren't communicating their findings to the public at all. But this is a critical time in history when every citizen of the world needs accurate and accessible information to make informed decisions. Decisions that help ensure that we keep the Earth's tremendous variety of species and their habitats safe from extinction. A quote by Senegalese conservationist Baba Diom sums up our goal. "In the end, we will save only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught." At the Biodiversity Group, we live this philosophy. But we take it one step further. We provide knowledge from our research so that there is something to be taught. We also provide the images and stories from the field as tools for teaching and understanding. And we teach through field expeditions that lead to discovery, through powerful photography and video that provide stirring documentation, and through our many partners and participants who together create a global community of informed, compassionate, and kinetic citizens. We form long-term commitments with the communities in which we serve. We've leveraged our ongoing relationships with these communities to make our science and outreach significantly stronger than either would be alone. One example of this leverage is how our organization engages local people in our Photography, Educating, and Empowering Kids, or PEAK, outreach program. We put GPS-enabled cameras in the hands of kids and trained local adult mentors working alongside our field teams so that they can discover and document wildlife in their communities. These locals then continue to collect and record data from our study sites between our professional expeditions. Our PEAK program provides much-needed salaries to those mentors who would otherwise subsist on wages from day labor that often destroys the very forests we strive to protect. There's at least 3 big reasons we're effective. First, we form lasting relationships with many organizations and communities. Second, we cultivate a diverse and loyal funding base that includes continuing grants from family foundations, individual donors, and income from our photography workshops and research expeditions. And third, our photography and the powerful message it portrays reaches millions of people through the press and social media, inspiring people to care about conserving rare and overlooked species. We measure our success by the growth and use of something we call conservation currency. The data and photos we collect comprise critical knowledge on the variety of species in a particular area. This information, or conservation currency, is then put to use by our partnering organizations, who advocate for preserving these dwindling wild areas. For example, our partners in Ecuador have used our data on reptiles and amphibians to protect the tiny fraction of the country's original coastal tropical forest that still remains. In our early years, we focused much of our scientific study on frogs, snakes, and lizards. Some might think we're solely interested in such creatures. In reality, we've always taken a holistic approach that considers entire biological communities, and we work with a wealth of other overlooked species such as insects, spiders, fish, and more. Basically, if other organizations ignore it, and the public misunderstands it, then we're the ones looking out for it. Thanks to the dozens of professional and citizen scientists who contribute to our work, we've discovered an impressive number of previously unknown species. Our current new species candidates include 40 frogs, 4 lizards, 2 salamanders, 1 snake, 5 stick insects, and an undetermined number of other exciting and bizarre new insects. Add to this the tens of thousands of records of animals in the wild, hundreds of people we directly interact with, and millions of people who read our stories, and we've got a track record to be proud of. It's a great challenge to be the organization out there that dares to focus on the underdog critters of our biological communities, the animals people too often view as weird, creepy, or even evil. But the Biodiversity Group meets this critical challenge head-on. Why? Because the vast majority of conservation funding goes towards saving single species, not entire biological communities, and that funding is far more likely to go to save mammals or birds than other wildlife. This is a tragic oversight. We want the world to see that even once a large, charismatic species is lost from an ecosystem, we can still cherish and save an untold abundance of incredible life that remains. With more resources, we could get more new species described and send our powerful photographs of overlooked and vanishing life to an even larger audience than ever before. We could also employ more local folks in conservation efforts, right in the areas where they live. Notably, we could better pursue our work in northern Mexico, a region currently overlooked by scientists and the public alike due to fears that stem from political and social instability. At the Biodiversity Group, we're not looking to expand our mission, but we want to see our established mission more fully and deeply explored and applied. For instance, we could make an even greater impact by engaging even more community members in citizen science, or by publishing new species descriptions, or by partnering with governments and non-governmental organizations to turn our data and stories into real-world recommendations and conservation successes. We're looking for people just like you to make sure we can do all this and more.